What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, and this is your pre-match build-up for the game between Manchester United and Newcastle United. It's basically a repeat of the final very early on in this competition. You had Newcastle, who knocked out Manchester City in a very tight game, and we played... Who the fuck did we play? Crystal Palace won it, probably in our best performance yet, I would probably say, this season, and that isn't saying a lot. Sorry, because Roy Hodgson changed that team a number of times, so I'm not taking too much away from that. But the lineup isn't officially out yet, but there has been some rumours, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty much bang on. But the players that are starting today, from what I've seen, is Hannibal, Garnacho, Martial, and Mason Mount. And I think we're going to line up like this. I think it's going to be Onana, Dalot, Varane, Maguire, Reguilon, Amrabat, Mount, Hannibal, Martial, Garnacho, maybe an Anthony. I'm not sure. I need to piece them other ones together, to be honest with you. But that's how I think we're going to look. I think Mount, Hannibal, and others have been confirmed. We're just waiting for the last bit for it to actually be announced and I could talk about it. Apologies about the lighting as well for you guys that are on YouTube. Obviously, TikTok is completely different, but for the ones that are on YouTube, I do apologise. My ring light decided to break. So, yeah, if you're wondering why it looks like that, then that is the reason. But anyway, let's talk about the game because that's what we're here for, right? So, Manchester United, fresh off an absolute slapping from Manchester City, which, to be fair, a lot of people expected, didn't they? Wasn't a great performance. Very a cowardly performance, if you will. We kind of sat back, waited for something to happen. And we've seen this happen a lot this season. But there is context to it because I feel like United have been chopping and changing more than a butcher with OCD. It's as simple as that for me. We can't seem to find any rhythm, any form. The players look broken. There's a lack of confidence. And it seems to be a lack of identity at the minute, which Jamie Carragher was questioning with Gary Neville, wasn't he, after the game? And I agree with some of the points, what Carragher was saying about, you should still see an identity, regardless of what's going on at the club. You should still see some form of coaching or identity or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then equally, if you think about this, whoever's watching now, wherever you work, just think about it. If shit's going on, like the amount of stuff that is at United behind closed doors and continuous things that are huge issues there, including the ownership, then you can't focus fully on your job. If you're having to do the recruitment, back in the day, Fergie did a lot at Manchester United, but it's different now. You need specialists. Man City have specialists, Liverpool have specialists, Real Madrid have specialists. You need experts in that area dealing with that specific thing. You don't want a manager here, there, everywhere, dealing with fucking nutritionists and a load of other shit, plus player drama. And it's a massive, massive task. And to try keep the performances and your head above water when the start of the season, we had 13 injuries or something along the lines of that. So I understand, I have sympathy. People might think we're moaning and, rival fans want to throw it in your face about the Glazers and stuff, saying that, they haven't spent money or whatever, blah, blah. I mean, we've been round this roundabout multiple times. People don't get the context unless you watch us week in, week out, or if you follow us over the years that have been. You get rival fans who look at it from this kind of glass house or whatever you want to call it and sat there and think like, oh, well, you're moaning about this and you're doing this and you're doing that. And it's like, there's a lot of reason to that. There's a lot of reason to it. On this channel, we do a lot of news. We cover a lot of stuff. We obviously watch every single game. We do tactical analysis. We do everything we possibly can that gives us insight into United. And the way it's being run is a joke. It's an absolute joke. It don't even take an expert to fucking know that. We are broken as a club from top to bottom, and that until that changes, it stays the same. And until we move some big players who people might not want to move on, players like Marcus Rashford, players like Bruno Fernandes, these guys, I don't know if we can dominate teams. I don't know if we can implement that style where you're dominating with possession, like a Brighton or a Pep with City. I don't think you can do that. I don't blame Erik ten Hag at all for playing the style that he does, because what he's done is he's come in, he's had a look at the team. He's tried playing out from the back. He brought Lissandro in and a few others. And it fucked up the first game. We lost to Brentford, we lost to Brighton. So then what do? You lean into what the players are good at. Direct football, counter-attacking. That is where their qualities lie. Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford aren't players that you could put in Pep's team. I would say Pep would pull his hair out, but he hasn't got any fucking left. So you lean into your strengths, and it works. Look at that Liverpool game. As soon as we set up for that game, we hit him on a counter attack, killed him, and beat him. And it is a results business, whether people like it or not. It is a results business. The issue is now, when you're trying to play that direct football, or you have players who can build up from that first phase, when they're missing, we've got Onana having to give it to fucking Maguire or Johnny Evans or whatever. And they can't take the ball. They can't receive the ball in tight spaces like the Sandro can. They're not press resistant at all. And they're not as good on the ball. So when Luke Shaw's missing and the Sandro's missing and Casemiro's missing and a load of others that have been as well, Kobe Mainoo was going to come into the team who's very good in that position. Amrabat looks a little bit slow. He looks like he's struggling to kind of transition a little bit into the side. So there's a lot of factors playing into it. I can see it. And that's why I'm not as mad. Like, I understand it. You can't keep going through this fucking cycle of just sacking managers, and then never having the people up top culpable for it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And this is for someone who's, some people, some United fans have been watching football for 60 years, and they know this. They know it. They absolutely know it. So I'm not going to be fooled by that, by these media companies who have certain agendas against United because they know it gets clicks and they want to say certain things without actually doing the research and reading into it. So he's got my full backing. It's like Jamke says there, my full backing, Eric Ten Hag. I can see what he's trying to do. I know why he's having problems currently at the minute. I get it. But look, the focus is on today. We're talking about Man United versus Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. This is what we're here for. A lot of people are worried about this. I mentioned at the start of the show that this is the repeat of the final. And even the final, when you look at it, we was in a good space back then. We had our best players available. We was in good form. We finished third, and obviously we won the Carabao Cup. This is our trophy to defend. You look at the tables now, the way it's gone. Newcastle are in flying form at the moment. I mean, they started really tricky in the Premier League, didn't they? Had some tough fixtures, but they've got 7 wins from 14 now in all comps with 3 draws and 4 losses. They score a lot of goals. They've got 31 goals in 14 games, which is over 2 goals a game on average. Anthony Gordon, or Shirley from Coronation Street, as some people like to call him, has started to live up to his expectation. You've got Isaac, who isn't available today, and Callum Wilson, who are bagging goals for fun. Kieran Trippier has the second most amount of assists in the league, I think, just behind Pedro Neto, and he's a fucking right back, so he's hugely influential for them. They can kill you on the transition. They've got fucking bags of energy. I think this is a really, really bad game for United to play. Really bad game. Even though it's at Old Trafford, which, sways the scales a little bit, I think this is a very tough game for United, just with the way Newcastle play, regardless if they've got injuries. I know they've got a few players out like Jacob Murphy, and Isaac, but I genuinely believe this is going to be a tough game for United. Newcastle will be up for it. The pressure's on United. They're at home. They've had a few wobbly results. Newcastle can just come play with freedom, and they'll be all over us. Isn't the match on TV? Yeah, it is. It's on Sky Sports, I think. So if you've got Sky Sports, it's got to go on there. A lot of people talking about B midfield. Right, let's talk about the lineups then, because they are out. So let's have a look. Is it the one that I said? Let's see. Right, come on. Let's see. So, Andre Onana, Diego Dalot, Maguire, Lindelof, so no Varane. I was wrong on that, but Reguilon starts. Casemiro, Hannibal, and Mount. Interesting. Anthony, Garnacho, and Martial. Okay. So let's dive into that. So let me just so I don't fucking forget, get my team line up there. Onana, Dalot, Lindelof instead of Varane. That's fine. Reguilon is in there. You've got Casemiro instead of Amrabat, which is surprised. I didn't think Casemiro would be ready, but apparently he is. And then you've got Anthony Martial. Anthony, Garnacho, and Martial, right? That's the team that we've got. Perfect. I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest. Obviously, I think that's the first time we've seen Casemiro, Hannibal, and Mount in there, which I'm actually excited for that, because Bruno Fernandes needed to be dropped. Marcus Rashford needed to be dropped. If you've watched any of the pros and cons I've done after every single game, I have been screaming that from the fucking hills. We've needed to drop them for so long. They're not in form. They tried playing them into form. It hasn't worked. They've been pretty fucking average every game. Marcus Rashford, get on this, right? I saw this stat yesterday. Marcus Rashford has scored 2 goals in 6 months. Just deep that. 2 goals in 6 months. crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm sure Bruno Fernandes's contributions aren't right up there as well. It's probably a couple of goals and assists in it from my memory. He's been no way near it. There was discussion about the captaincy, wasn't there, after the last game, and I fully agree with it. We said on the channel at the time, me and Sam was discussing it. We were saying, I can see why you would go for Bruno because he's available every game. He gives his all. He's probably one of the most talented players in the squad, but he has attitude issues. He can be petulant. He's childish. Um, he gets over emotional. He can't seem to control his emotions. So is he the right fit in that aspect? And people will turn around and say, well, what's the other option? If you're going to take the captaincy off Bruno, what's the other option? Someone mentioned Varane there. I would give it Varane if he was available. But the issue is with Varane, he has a lot of injuries. And you can't have your captain chopping and changing, not being available for games. So he would be the obvious one for me. He has that calm presence, really good in the back line. He's a leader. He's obviously was captain for France before he retired for international football. So I get it. I understand. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. I like Lissandro. I'm not saying give it him because I moaned about Maguire get the captaincy too soon, so I can't turn around and say, um, you should give it Lissandro. I think he has the qualities to be the captain. I always call him the captain without the armband. Obviously, when he came back from his injury, he wasn't the same. You could tell he was off the pace by a mile. Everyone was saying, is he still injured? And it turns out that was the case. So I'm hoping he can come back to the Lissandro he was last year because I thought he was incredible. Very good signing, one of our best ones under Ten Hag. And then you have Casemiro, who a lot of people are writing off, which, I don't understand. I think he's a phenomenal player. He still has the most goal contributions, I think, out of any player in the team. He's been off it a bit in midfield. His numbers are dropping, granted, but it is slightly different shape. He tried Mount and Bruno in the midfield, and it just left him completely exposed. So, yeah, I think when Casemiro has Christian Eriksen next to him, they seem a lot better. But the issue is with that, when you play Casemiro and Eriksen off the ball is awful. He's absolutely awful. I don't know why in the game against City in the last one they put Eriksen as the 6 and then McTominay as the 6 and took Amrabat off. That was just when you talk about in-game decisions, which Eric Ten Hag is usually fantastic at. That was a stinker, mate. Absolute stinker. But you live and you learn. So Christian Eriksen has his faults. We know that. This is why it's so hard because we still haven't found that midfield combination yet, and that's why I'm excited to see Hannibal and Mason Mount in front of Casemiro. I think you'll see a bit of different quality. And I'll tell you what will happen after the game as well. All these people who are moaning about Mason Mount or moaning about other players and saying, keep playing Bruno and fanboys of Bruno stuff. They'll watch them perform tonight. They'll probably put in a good performance and they'll turn around and they'll go, oh, it's not this Carabao Cup. It's because it's a cup game. It's still Newcastle, a very, very good team who have still put a good team out themselves. So I ain't having that. I think they'll put in a good performance in the midfield, but it's about the rest of the team as well, I suppose. I put a poll up at the start of the show saying, do we get the job done tonight? 75% have said yes, and 25% have said no, which is interesting because I thought a lot more people would be negative about this game. But I mean, I'm happy that people are happy, I suppose, if you want to put it like that. Grey 100's in the chat. Big up to you, mate. I hope you're good. Got a Guinness in the hand. He says, lots of optimistic votes. Daniel Raj says Mountain Garnacho starting. Interesting to see how Marshall gets on as well, if he can play a full 90 minutes, because that kid just, whenever he gets on the pitch, it just seems like he's walking. I don't think he knows what pressing is. You see the difference from Hoyland to Marshall. It's just completely off. You're like, wow. Anonymous Mango 3-1. Mount gets his first goal for the club. I could see that. I can definitely see that. Shah Sam says Bruno Rashford dropped finally. I'm with you on that, brother. Grey 100 says, I don't think we're taking it serious. I don't think Ten Hag has dropped Rashi or Bruno. I think he's saving them because he feels he needs in the Prem just a feeling. Same with Amrabat. I think he prefers him over Casa. But the issue, well, not the issue, but what I'm hoping is if they put a good performance in today, then play people on merit. As a coach, he always says, play them on merit. So if they have a good performance, then they should play again in the next game against Fulham on Saturday. For me, I mean, that's just what you would usually do, right? The weird thing is, Varane's not even in the squad. Is there? Varane's not even in the squad, I don't think. So that is this guy, man. You cannot rely on him. It's obviously not his fault. I never moan at someone for injuries. It's, what can they do about it? They obviously want to be playing as much as we want them to play, but the best ability is availability, and Varane is available for 1 or 2 games, and then he's gone. It's getting worse than what it was last year. At least you've had a string of games. You probably have 3, 4, 5 games, I'd say, you'd have him available for, and then he would be out for 2 weeks. So it seems like even the decision he made about international football not playing for him has not even helped him either. He seems to be worse. And this is one of the reasons why we needed a Tadibo, why we needed a Kim Min Jae or someone like that. That was the main focus why we should have got one of them players, because we know how unreliable Varane is, and we're having to start Maguire and Lindelof. So obviously we're gonna struggle in games when you're having to play with that kind of centre-back partnership. That's centre-back partnership under Ole, why we lost so many fucking games. So, yeah, thank you for the gift, Sean Gold. Appreciate it, brother. Daniel Rice saying our star players are used to playing without a striker, and now when we have a striker, they're struggling because they're greedy. We have wingers who are selfish, and their first thought isn't providing for the striker. Their first thought is cutting in and having a shot. That's why Højlund doesn't get any service and has to kind of create his own chances. So, yeah, I feel for Højlund in that sense. But I knew he probably wouldn't start today, to be honest with you. I was hoping we saw Kobe Mainu today. Again, I don't know if he's on the bench. Maybe someone can let me know about that. But I think because he played yesterday against Salford, he wasn't going to play today. So I doubt he's on the bench. But, I mean, stranger things have happened. Bruno, Trippier, Wilson on the bench for Newcastle. That's interesting. No Callum Wilson, Trippier or Bruno. That is very interesting. Dan, if you can, will you put Newcastle's team in the chat, please, if you are still watching, and I'll go through that as well. You have to kind of admire Newcastle. I started speaking about them before in the form. I didn't really go into depth about it. I took the amount of goals they've scored and the teams that they've beat. They beat Man City, obviously, in this competition. They beat PSG 4-1, which is like the biggest result in a long, long time for them, if not ever. And the way they've gone about things, you can almost be jealous from like a club progression perspective, because look, the owners have their own ties and people will have questions about state ownership and Saudis, etc. I understand it. I don't want to dive into that. I just want to talk about the football inside of things and how well they've done. They didn't go for the obvious manager. They could have, offered millions to a Jose Mourinho or someone like that. They went for a British-based manager who is good working with players, has good man management, a good understanding of the game. Like I said, not the obvious choice, and they brought him in, and they've worked with him really, really closely. And the players that they've brought in as well haven't been obvious signings. I mean, when United got offered the chance to sign Kieran Trippier, everyone was turning the fucking nose up at it. And if you look at what he's doing for Newcastle now, you're like, Jesus Christ, man, like he would have been a fantastic signing, especially with our right back options at the minute. They're kind of, they're a bit. Wan-Bissaka has really good defensive qualities, and then Dalot's decent going forward, but they don't have both of them together. Whereas I feel Kieran Trippier is a leader, and I feel he's a very good player. So that was an astute signing. Bruno Guimaraes for like £40 million is a fantastic signing. Isaac for 60 million is already paying that back. You've got the growth of Callum Wilson. Obviously, Eddie Howe's worked with Wilson before. And even signings like Dan Burn, who everyone had turned the nose up at for 20 million quid, has been fantastic for him. So they've gone about the work really, really well. It's hard not to admire what they're doing over there. And I believe they brought in, was it Dan Ashworth from Brighton as like the sporting director? And he's just had an instant impact. The players that they've brought in and stuff have been really, really good. So, yeah, I think Newcastle on that upwards trajectory, and we're kind of on that downwards trajectory. Now, depending on what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan is, and, today, is it Dave Brailsford, whatever it is, Paul Mitchell potentially coming in as a sporting director. I think that's interesting to see if they can actually make strong core changes where you can start to see a difference at Manchester United. And I think that's the first thing we need to do with United, because the recruitment has been absolutely awful. So yeah, you can kind of admire Newcastle in that sense. Not just that, the football that they play is actually quite exciting. When you watch them, this sounds like I'm piping Newcastle off here, but when you watch them at St. James's Park, the energy that they play with, the commitment, the quality, that some of the players that are in that team who have no right, to be honest, people might not like this take, but Almiron has been better than Anthony. Since Anthony signed, for Man United, Almiron has been better. Like they have players who like Longstaff who's come into the midfield and done really really well. They're coached well, and obviously it's a little bit less pressure at Newcastle. Still a huge club. I just think I think they're doing really really good with what they've done upstairs and stuff. This take it's just true. Liverpool and Man U bogey teams for Newcastle. It's the EFL, so I'm not too bothered, says Fundu. Let me read out a few more comments in the YouTube as well. Please do leave a like on the video for us and subscribe to the channel if you can. Our star, I've already read that out, sorry. Sam says, how do we know Varane is injured though? Could be personal issues or anything. Right, I get that. There could be, he could have got hit by a bus or hopefully not, obviously. But it could have been multiple reasons. You can be pedantic about it, but the fact is it's probably going to be an injury in it if we're guessing. Because obviously shown history of it before, so one can only assume that it's going to be that. But hopefully it's just a small knock or whatever it is, and it can be back in time for the Fulham game, but I will not be holding my breath because I know what it's like with Rafael Varane. But I'm not mega confident we can get a result, to be honest with you, because how we've been playing. But Onana, Delo, Maguire, Lindelof, Reguilon, Casemiro, Hannibal, and Mount alike, and then Anthony Garnacho and Martial. I'm excited to see. I would have liked to have seen Højlund, Garnacho, and maybe someone different on the right. I don't know, though. The right side's tricky because I hate Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side. He's not a winger. He can't beat a man. He hasn't got the pace to do that. He does them check backs all the time. He's obvious to read. And he doesn't have position discipline. He just it's like a headless chicken with anger issues. He's just everywhere on the pitch doing everybody else's pressing. Which, sometimes you don't mind because he's putting in the work. But the right side's weird. I think that right side's up for grabs. And one player who a lot of people will know I'm a massive, massive, huge fan of is Amad Diallo. And I think when he gets back, what he did for Sunderland, I thought it was fantastic. Completely different championship. This is the Premier League. The levels are much different. I understand it. But I think he deserves an opportunity. Like Palistri got an opportunity. Amad defo deserves one because Anthony's been dog shit. Absolutely dog shit this season. And he's got a real chance of being put in the same category as Maguire, as Jadon Sancho, and all these kind of guys, because since he's come in for 85 million quid, that ain't it. That ain't it. Right, let's have a look at Newcastle's team. I don't know if did Dan put it in? No, right, I'll pull up Newcastle's team. Let's have a look. Let me have a look. So, Dubravka, Livramento, Kraft, Dummett, Target, Hall, Longstaff, Willock, Ritchie, Joelin, and Gordon. That's a pretty weak team, to be honest with you. Dubravka as well. Is he back for vengeance? He absolutely melted under them Old Trafford lights, didn't he? But yeah, Dubravka, Livramento, Kraft, Dummett, Target, Hall, Longstaff, Willock, Ritchie, Joelin, and Gordon. That is a pretty weak team. If we don't beat that with the team we've got, I'm sorry, but yeah, the pressure absolutely piles on you if you're Eric Ten Hag, if you don't win that game. Don't Newcastle have a really important game on the weekend? Someone remind me, please. I'm sure they do, which is obviously why they've heavily rotated. Simon Davis is in the chat. Big up to Simon Davis saying 3-1 Newcastle. Are you sure, even with that lineup, do you think? Interesting. Sam says, happy to see Wan-Bissaka get back on the team. Yeah, he's on the bench in there, which is positive news because he was in really good form. I remember the final, actually, funnily enough, when Dalot started. St. Maximin was absolutely rinsing him, wasn't he? Rinsing him on that left-hand side. And then it was like, right, who do we bring on? The nullifier, Wan-Bissaka, Spider-Man. Deals with Matoma, deals with Sterling, deals with whatever, Mbappe, whatever winger it is, like defensively, is absolutely sound. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have him back. I just want the starting 11 back. That's what I want. I just want the starting 11, starting back 5. I want Wan-Bissaka, I want Varane, Lisandro, and Shaw for a string of games. Have we even seen that yet? I'd have to go back. I'd have to go back and have a look. Maybe we have it a couple of times, near the start of the season, but I can't really remember them playing together too frequently, to be honest. Get the youth on, simple. Garnacho's on, you've got Hannibal on, and there's a couple in there. But who's on our bench, actually? Let's have a look. I'm talking about it as if I know the bench. Right. Bayern Day, what's he got to do, by the way, to get a start in the team? Like, fuck me. What's the point of bringing in a second choice goalkeeper if you're not going to start him in cup competitions? Why is he there? Why is he there? That frustrates the life out of me, that, and it must frustrate the life out of other people. Why bring in Bayern if you're not going to fucking start him? Like, just, it's so bizarre to me that. Johnny Evans on the bench, Wan-Bissaka, as we've just touched on, Amrabat, Fernandes. What's the bet that Fernandes comes on tonight? I bet you. Or Rashford. And then you've got Ericsson, McTominay, Hoyland, and Rashford on the bench. So no Pellistri on the bench, no Ahmad on the bench, no Kobe Mainoo on the bench. Yeah, the only kind of young players we've got is Hannibal and Garnacho. But I'm glad they're starting because they deserve it. We was actually speaking about Hannibal yesterday in the preview, and we were saying it was weird because he got into the team, actually looked pretty good. You know, we had really good metrics in terms of pressing and distance covered, which just isn't the be all and end all of the midfield. But it was nice to see a hard working midfielder who was maintaining the same level as the others kind of around him. And then he just went out of the team and just never got played again up until this point. So hopefully, you know, he has an opportunity and he grabs it with both hands, I believe. Big up everyone who's joining and get your comments in. Really appreciate the interaction. Do subscribe if you're new to the channel. With 22 subs off 3,700, I think it is. So if you can subscribe, if you haven't already, then please do. Same for the people on TikTok as well. Check us out. The link is in the bio. Real Reds Talk. Load of nice lads on the channel. Content every single day. So yeah. I'm at the game, says Tim99. Hope you enjoy it, mate. I hope we get a win for you. And he's saying predicting a 2-1 United win. Simon Davis saying agreed, and he'll get frustrated. Cup games are for reserve keepers. Definitely. Yep, absolutely. Shreyas is saying, any views regarding Bruno's captaincy? I mean, I touched on it slightly before. But yeah, I don't know. I get the point. Like, if you're going to take it off him and create a whole media circus around it, is it worth it? And then who are you going to give it to? But then it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't give it him in the first place. If you look at his personality, I get like in game, he can read a game really well. I think that's what Ten Hag said. He's available. You know, he never gets injured, puts in 100% every single game. But you have the petulance, you have the personality issues, you have the overreacting and over emotion, not be able to control. And ex-players, you listen to any ex-players, even I think Ben Foster said it actually. And he said, mate, if I was on the play, if one of my teammates was doing that, throwing arms about and doing all this on the pitch, if I got in at half time, I'd be fucking going ballistic at him, saying that is not on at all. And I'm sure the players probably feel the same in the team. I know there's kind of a disharmony within the squad because of multiple things at the moment. You've got Sancho's situation, favoritism with certain players not being dropped, you know, coaches, board level, Glazers, like it's a mess in it at the moment. And that guy who's on Twitter, and some people know I'm talking about here, then Insider United, I think he's called on Twitter. He's only got a couple thousand followers, but he's been bang on with a lot of stuff that he says. Somehow he has inside information. I don't know. But the stuff that he said has come to fruition about Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, Amrabat, loads of other things. And he put on Twitter today, he was like, the stuff that is going on behind closed doors, if you knew what was happening, would make your piss boil. So there is obviously big things going on that are being kept quiet at the minute. I mean, we're having leaks. It's that time of the season, isn't it? I joked on our Twitter the other day saying, like, it's the season when United start leaking things and players start complaining about fucking the lights not being on during training. Not the lights, sorry. It being too dark during training, and the jerseys don't fit. And it's like they would have never have lasted in the 60s or 70s, would they? Like, sorry, mate, your socks are too tight. Is that why you're playing shit every single week? Like, come off it. I'm not interested in no excuses. Not at all. Not even slightly. So you can come off with that absolute bollocks. Simon saying Bruno isn't captain material. Shreya saying I'm still not able to figure out how his quality dropped so much for United. For Portugal, he's arguably one of the best midfielders. Thing is, though, there's this comparison with international football and Premier League. It's miles apart. Miles apart. Bruno's playing teams like Lithuania and, fucking Liechtenstein and San Marino and teams like this. So when you have five players up top like Bernardo Silva, Bruno, Felix, and Ronaldo, you're going to stat pad. I think that's my opinion anyway. Crandit says predicting the Magpies to win on pens. Thank you for the follow, everyone on TikTok. Appreciate you. You'll want to avoid Borough if Man United get through. I mean, United should avoid everyone the way they're playing at the moment. Newcastle versus Arsenal. That was it, yeah. Samuel Ingham says Victor Lindelof should be on the bench. But then who do you play at centre-back? Amad Diallo and Pellistri should both be competing for the right wing position. I agree with that. 2-1, come on, United. Newcastle going to smoke yous. We need a new goalkeeper, not Onana. I don't know. I think that's quite harsh. Onana's been all right the past couple of games. Made some great saves in the City game. Had a tough start to life, no doubt. But then saved the penalty, obviously, against Copenhagen, which was a massive couple of minutes for us. So, I don't know. I think Onana will come good, but I get why people are concerned about him. And all the De Gea kind of fan club are going nuts about him. We're winning tonight, lads, says UTFR. Judging off that lineup, I mean, yeah, you have to win. If we lose that game, it's pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. And I'm not even diminishing Newcastle. Just that team, just there's no Bruno Guimaraes, no Trippier, no Callum Wilson. You need to be beating that team, to be honest with you. And if you beat Newcastle, that's Newcastle and Man City are out. So in actual fact, you've probably got a decent chance of retaining that cup, which people might not be happy with, but it's another trophy in it, I suppose. Especially the way the season's going. So yeah, the Carabao Cup 5th round draw is going to take place after the Newcastle game, which is interesting. We'll probably get another tough fixture if we do advance. I think Mount's going to be key. I agree with you, UTFR. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, I'm happy to see Mount tonight. I've been Mount's fan since he's joined. I think he's been absolutely ridiculed, and people have moaned at him. But why has he not deserved an opportunity over Bruno to start? They've only ever started in the same team. He never gets a start over Bruno. And Bruno's been shit since the start of this season. Like, give him an opportunity. If he fails, if he doesn't do well, fair enough. Bring Bruno back in. But it's about competition in places, right? And for the past 4 games, he's been dropped. I think 3 or 4 games. Why spend £55 million for a player and push for him since like February, I think it was, if you're not going to play him in the team? It makes no sense whatsoever. I think Ten Hag thought Casemiro, Bruno, and Mount would work in the midfield, and it just hasn't, for whatever reason. Just has not. You can go into tactics, you can go into personnel around him and stuff, but it's just not worked, and there was no control there whatsoever. So yeah. Preferential treatment, that's the word I was looking for, Simon. Thank you very much. Any more predictions? What's everyone's predictions? Please get them in if you haven't done already. Blackburn 4-0 against Chelsea. I mean, that can't be real. Surely not. Spread the Gospel says we'll play good tonight. Spread the Gospel, brother, with you. 3-1 Rashford hat-trick. Well, Rashford isn't playing, so he'd have to get it off the bench. But he has done that before, hasn't he? Against... Who was it against? In the Champions League. Was it Leipzig? Where he came off the bench, scored a hat-trick. I think it was. It's the motherfucking D-O-double-G. Hopefully not Newcastle. Leon has dropped us a follow. Appreciate that. Make sure you check us out on Real Reds Talk, by the way. We'll have a live review after the game. Me, Adam, and Sam will be discussing it in depth. So make sure you come and join us for that. We have live previews and pre-records, about Paul Mitchell, sporting directors, other things ongoing at the club, fun bits of content, loads of different shorts, pre-match builds up, reviews. Loads of shit every single day, news shows, etc. So make sure you do check us out. And yeah, there's loads of lads on the channel. Really, really fun, exciting, upcoming channel. So yeah, do check us out. Not positive at all, says Shreyas. Even after that lineup, really. It'll be tight tonight, but we'll win 1-0. Marshall goal, says Leon. Brooklyn saying, "Come on, Reds." Can't trust this squad, would be more than happy to be proved wrong. You sound like Sam, Treyas. I think Sam's having an effect on you. Simon Davis, it's about Rashford. I think it means it's about time Rashford was dropped. Yeah, look, I'm a bit more excited and confident seeing both teams now. I think it's going to be interesting to see both midfield. I mean, you've got to get a hold of that midfield when you look at both sides. You just have to. But Newcastle score goals, so it could be... I don't know. It could be a bit of a barn burner if it opens up a little bit. I'm just hoping, United, forget the derby now. It's in the past. You got smashed. Why am I lagging? Am I okay now? I think I'm okay. Yeah, you got beat by City. It is what it is. It was shit. We can't sit on that for too long. You've got games upcoming. You've got to go beat Newcastle tonight. Try use that for some momentum. Kobe Mainoo comes back into the side. Ahmad, you can maybe start on the right. You got a few players coming back. Wan-Bissaka. Let's start getting some winning momentum, because after Sheffield and then Copenhagen and then there was another team as well who I'm forgetting. 3 wins on the spin, even though they weren't that convincing. You're like, right, here's the winning momentum now, and then City pipe us. It's like back to reality again. So Simple as that. You got to go win tonight. If you don't, then there's massive pressure on Eric Ten Hag. Simple as that for me. And I'm excited to see who can do what. My score prediction is... people aren't going to like this. I'm going to go with a draw. I think a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw. And then I think the replay. Is he a replay? If there's a replay at St. James's Park, I think they then beat us at St. James's Park. But yeah, like I said, everyone new to the channel will have a review after the game. I'm having a few beers at the pub to watch it. So it might be a bit of a fruity review, which makes it all more fun, I suppose. I think Adam's on the whiskey as well. So make sure you come and join us for that. People over from TikTok, like yourselves, and people in the chat. Appreciate every single one of you. All of you, enjoy the game. Let's hope for a positive performance because, my God, we need it. And yeah, let's hope for a good few goals as well. I know a couple of the lads on the channel are at the game tonight, so hopefully they enjoy it. I know there's some people in the chat there as well, like Tim99. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys after the game. This has been the pre-match build-up. Take care, try and enjoy the game, and I'll see you in a few hours, yeah? See you in a bit.